Hi everyone, welcome to Tech Tuesday. My name is Tom Levine, and today we're going to be covering the future of some technology that's being used right now. Our real goal is to just demystify some of the buzzwords and explain some of the basic operations and uses of what some of this technology we'll be covering will be used for in the future. Hopefully this will make it a little less frightening and give you an idea of what's going to be coming out. A lot of things are likely not to ever come to fruition, like teleporters, food replicators, ray guns, those things out of like Star Trek. But a lot of futuristic technology that's, we all once thought was impossible are now useful in, daily lives of everyone. They're used in a lot of different crazy and wonderful ways. Look at smartphones and how they've advanced over the last few years, just as an example. But before we get started on what we're going to cover today, just a few things to keep in mind. First, some general housekeeping. If you have a question, please feel free to type it in that question box. We'll answer questions at the end of the presentation as well. But if you have a question on something I'm covering as I'm covering it, feel free to type it there, and I'll answer it as we go. Also, feel free to reach out to me directly if you have any questions. My phone number and email are on the screen, and I will show them again at the end of the presentation, so no need to jot them down now. Also, I'd recommend looking into Autopilot. Autopilot's our compensation-based client referral program, which offers you the services of our licensed representatives to quote, enroll, support, and provide year-round service to clients that may fall out of the scope of your business. But it keeps them on your radar. Out of this program, you can focus on growing your business with the assurance that your clients will continue to receive the benefits of your market expertise and continued superior service and support. Our talented team will take care of your clients' health insurance needs for individual and family coverage, employee benefits, or Medicare solutions. So whatever falls out of the scope of what you cover, we can happily provide for your clients. To activate Autopilot today, go ahead and click on the link in the chat to learn more. Also, we are doing our 2021 broker incentive program as well. To qualify for this, you're going to have to register at the link that I'm putting in the chat. But brokers qualify by earning points for new to Cornerstone, group and individual, medical and ancillary sales. Minimum of 2,000 points are required in order to be eligible for the cash reward or a weekend getaway. And the top 20 qualifiers are all going to earn cash at different values displayed on the screen. Also, the point earning period is from January 1st of this year through December 31st of 2020. So please go ahead and get registered so you can start earning points and hopefully win that vacation. We're going to start by talking about drones. Drones are actually very prevalent, and I don't think people really understand just how frequently they're used now. It's not something that you or I might see in our daily lives, but it's something that's really prevalent throughout the world. Drones, when they released, or came onto the market back around 2010, 2012 for consumer use, a lot of hobbyists got into it, but it's used in a lot more than just, hobbyist, flight. Currently, it's a booming industry with $4.4 billion invested into the industry in 2018, and it's expected to grow to be a $63.6 billion industry by 2025. Not only enthusiasts are using these, but a lot of businesses are using the drones as well. It's also important to think of, consumer drones as, the little flying devices, but that's really not it at all. When we say drones, or at least when I say drones, I like to think about, unmanned vehicles in general. This could be a self-driving car or even like a submersible that just, is self-driving as a submarine. These are the kinds of things that are really getting heavily invested into. So it's more than just those quadcopters you see at town centers around you. As far as current drone use goes, it's used in a wide variety of industries, and these are just a few that I found and listed. By no means is this an exhaustive list. In the military, drones are being used not just for reconnaissance, like a lot of people think, but they're also being used as mobile weapons platforms. And these are going to be combined with some of the other topics later to get into more of the autonomous sort of section of it. Other than that, drones are also being used in package delivery. They've already been used by Amazon to deliver things in Europe, but just recently, actually last month, the FAA approved Amazon to start using drones to deliver around key U.S. cities. So I would expect to see Amazon Prime air delivery around you sometime within the next 2 to 3 years. Additionally, they've saved farmers quite a bit of money. Farmers used to have to crop dust by buying, full-size planes, getting a pilot's license. It was kind of a hassle. But now farmers can just use drones to crop dust and disperse things on their fields. Also, the aerial views are useful for detecting blights in your crop and seeing what areas of your field might need, better access to sunlight, a little more water. It can be used for a lot of different type of analysis. Also, farmers are also using drones for a wide variety of things that I don't mention. They're also being used in filmmaking to get really wonderful aerial shots. Typically, you'd have to build a large, crane-like structure to hold a camera, but with current drone camera technology, you just, have one guy with a controller, and that's all you need. It's really innovative filmmaking. One interesting use that I saw, at least, was in insurance, specifically home insurance. They use these drones to sort of analyze, how a home looks from above, and different fall risks for like large trees or fire risks. And actually, farmers, or not farmers, I'm sorry, but different types of firefighters are also using drones as well to analyze the way fires are spreading. This can be useful for home insurance claims for arson. So they can use these drones watching how the fire is spreading out to determine where a fire started in a home and the likelihood of it being accidental. Um, Also, in my mind, the coolest use of drones is in search and rescue. Now, this isn't only flying drones, although those are really more frequently used, but they also have like, snake-like drones that sort of weave through, collapsed buildings and find people under rubble. They can also put like food and water in these things to help people survive while they're trapped. Um, Drones are also being used to help rescue miners in really hazardous conditions. Um, I think it was Elon Musk a few years ago that helped build drones to rescue those miners in the collapsed mine in Chile, I think it was. So drones are very prevalently used in a lot of different industries, and I really don't see them going away anytime soon. One drone picture to my right is one of those, mobile drones. This is actually a military utility robot. It can be used as a mobile weapons platform. It can be used to defuse bombs. It's used in a lot of hazardous conditions where, sending a person to search and rescue also might not really be great. So don't think of drones as just those quadcopters you see. But in the near future, I'd expect to see a lot more of these. Like I said before, it's going to be a $26 billion industry soon, so it's not going away anytime soon. You're going to see a lot more crowded skies, and I wouldn't be shocked if the FAA releases a lot more regulations on drones and airspaces in the future because of this. Self-driving cars are also going to be more of a thing, but that is going to be because they're making use of a technology we're displaying next, which is artificial intelligence. Now, I don't want people to freak out when I say artificial intelligence. We're not talking something as advanced as HAL 9000 over there from 2001: A Space Odyssey. While computers aren't really conscious, artificial intelligence really just refers to the ability of a program to adapt to data. And translated into English, that means the computer reacts to what it's given. It reacts to stimulus. Um, this allows the computer to edit how it thinks and how it analyzes data. This makes it really useful for large organizational sort of tasks. A lot of AI is used to analyze pictures or to detect changes in data that's coming in. It can really be used for a lot of different things. And this adaptability is being displayed in a wide range of current uses, actually. One really big use that I think no one really thinks about are Netflix and Amazon. Netflix and Amazon, we all know they watch what we watch and recommend things off of that, or watch what we buy and recommend different products off of that. But a lot of people don't understand that the algorithm used to, determine their viewing habits is actually an AI. It's a program that reacts to, what it's given from you, the user, and uses those to generate recommendations. It's not only used for ads, but also used for recommendations of other different types of services as well. For instance, if you're using Amazon, it's going to, maybe see that, oh, you're listening to a lot of Spotify music. Maybe you'd be interested in using Amazon Music and things like that, and show a lot of different preference choices as well. Facebook has actually made use of two proprietary AI little codes. The first being deep text to analyze what you type and post on Facebook, and the second being their facial recognition algorithm, DeepFace. Both of these are considered AI because they react to the different facial and textual cues they are given. Deepface is actually what allows Facebook to tag you in photos that you didn't upload. So it will look through what you are seeing, or what your face looks like, and be able to detect if someone else posts a picture of you. And that's how all of that's working. It's also used in ad targeting, like we mentioned. As far as the drones go and how AI ties in, Tesla's using two separate onboard AI, one for navigation on like large scale, so to determine where the car is going overall, and one to determine how the car is driving itself on smaller roads. The Tesla Model S is what I've shown up above, and it's going to be, when it's released, I believe, coming in 2021, at least the newer version, it's going to be able to self-drive not just on the freeway using something like cruise control, but it's also going to be able to drive you around your city. So you can just, type in a GPS location, hit go, and it'll literally be able to drive you in New York City anywhere you want to go. So while a little frightening, it's being used for consumers. One of the other things that Tesla's working on is incorporating this technology into deliveries. So you'll see self-driving, freight vehicles here in the near future as well. Also, they are being used for surveillance and use in the armed forces. AIs may not be deploying weapons yet. The drones are still going to be piloted by humans for that. But AI is really going to be useful in, detecting faces, like I said before, using Facebook. So spy things can detect who they're spying on, but also they're used to secure online connections. They can easily change up the algorithms being used to secure data being transmitted online. So AI is already making our armed forces more secure online. Another use that I don't have displayed here, but is pretty prevalent, is China is actually using the facial recognition algorithms in their statewide surveillance network as well. So maybe a little dystopian, but it is a possibility, and it is something we're seeing happening. So as far as future uses of AI go, they're going to be used in data analytics, social media and marketing, and our national security for the reasons I've mentioned before. But it's also going to be more and more prevalent as computer technology gets more and more advanced and it's able to calculate more and more things. These AI get more and more versatile, and they're able to detect a lot more things as well. Some of the other innovative uses that I haven't mentioned here because they're really pretty new are AI being used for facial recognition in the meat industry. A lot of times, it's hard to tell whether a pig is feeling bad or if it's sick. So there's an AI being developed right now to determine if the livestock themselves are sick just based on how they're reacting. A human might not be able to, pick up on those sorts of behaviors from a pig, but an AI might be able to. It's also being used to watch for other large outbreaks and patterns in human behavior overall. So these sorts of things are going to just become more prevalent, and you're going to hear a lot more use about these things. If you want to read a lot more about the way they're being used, and I'd highly recommend it, please go ahead and read this Atlantic article that I'm putting in the chat right now. It's a really wonderful article, and it'll really encapsulate exactly how AI might be used in the future. So I just recommend reading up on that. It covers specifically Chinese surveillance, but I think it's an interesting rabbit hole if you're interested. But either way, as computers get more advanced, AI is going to get more and more useful. And the most advanced computer that I can think of, or at least that I've ever heard of, is a quantum computer. Now, a quantum computer is really out there as far as sci-fi is concerned, and technology that we never thought we'd actually create. It's something, however, that's recently come onto the market. In 2019, IBM released the first commercial quantum computer. And I say commercial not in the sense that you can buy it, but in the sense that you can rent time to perform calculations with it if you're a university or a large data researcher. They're really not being used right now as far as I'm concerned for any sort of practical purpose that you or I would be concerned with. But they're really on the edge of, theoretical sort of things. Um, and I'll get into their importance here in a second as far as, as it relates to us. But the important thing to know is that they're very, 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 very powerful computers, and they dramatically speed up the way that computers think and process data. Because they compute things in fewer steps than normal computers, they've become kind of a security risk as well. If you watched our Tech Tuesday on encryption, and I'd highly recommend you do, quantum computers can kind of break that. And the reason that they could do it is because the way they process data. Now, I'm not a quantum physicist, and I'm not going to try to explain the exact reasons as to why quantum computers are going to be processing things faster. But the basic difference between a normal computer and a quantum computer is that a normal computer thinks in binary. It thinks in terms of on and off switches. So that's ones and zeros. Those ones and zeros are called bits, and they're physically represented by transistors. Those transistors determine on or off, which becomes a 1 and 0, which becomes computer code. But this can be pretty limiting when you're, trying to do math. Think about trying to represent the number 32 in a string of 1 and 0. It's pretty difficult. The main reason that quantum computers are different is because they can hold any value on their, bits. Their bits are a little bit different. They're called qubits, and they can hold pretty much any value between 0 and 1, and a computer can read them as any value between 0 and 1. And what this means practically, as far as computational speed is concerned, can be easily represented by Google's first quantum computer. When they turned it on, they hit it with a calculation that's incredibly complex, and I'm not even going to get into the specifics of what it was. But suffice to say that when they brought it online in 2019, it performed a calculation that would have taken a normal computer 10,000 years in around 3 minutes and 20 seconds. So this sort of jump is going to rapidly speed up computing, rapidly speed up how we process data, and mean that your YouTube videos will buffer a lot faster when they're eventually released to, us. But what this really means and why it's important is because of encryption. Now, if you want to learn more about encryption and more of the specifics of what go into it, I'd highly recommend going online to our resource center and watching our encryption thing. But suffice to say that encryption is useful because it's very difficult to find out what numbers create very large numbers. These very large numbers are things that are like 126 characters in length, and the key to the code, at least, might be something as small as like the number 24. So in math, it's difficult to find out, the small factors of very large numbers, especially when those numbers are primes. In order to break a 100-bit cipher that uses math like this, it would take a traditional CPU over a quadrillion steps, meaning that any data secured with this level of encryption is likely very safe. The problem is because quantum computers can think differently, they can complete that same sort of calculation in around 50 steps, which means that, calculation that would have maybe taken a normal computer 3 months to break is going to take them maybe a minute, which means all of our data would no longer be secure. Now, we are taking, steps to prevent this. And there are only 11 known quantum computers in the world right now. So it's not something that's really, I guess, frightening right now. But it's something that we're going to have to look for, and avoid in the future. They're already taking steps to mitigate this just by expanding the length of these keys that they're being used. We've already upped from, I think, 126 to 256 characters being the standard for keys. So, we're increasing the size of keys, and hopefully our encryption is going to be safe. But using quantum computers, it's really just an unknown field to see if they'll break ciphers. If they do, then it's going to likely be very lucrative for criminal enterprises to use these things. And while they are kind of on the fringe of technology now, and I don't expect to see them in prevalent use for about 20 years, they're just something to be aware of. Now, the reason you'd want to be aware of these things is more for how all of this technology could be used together. We've already talked a little bit about, self-driving AI cars using, drone bodies. But, if you use a quantum computer to host all of these, mobile devices, it becomes possible to get large swarms of, drones doing very complex things. And that's something that you're probably going to see here in about 20 years. I know that Uber has already been looking into self-driving cars that are controlled by their servers. And if those servers get more and more complex, the number of cars they can support and the number of ride-sharing vehicles they can have on the road that are autonomous will increase. These are the kinds of things that make, such speculative computers, such as quantum computers, really relevant and really why you'd want to know about them. Well, these aren't things that you're probably going to see prevalent or in use very soon. Quantum computers are just something to be aware of. We don't have them yet, but they're going to probably come on the market in 10 to 20 years. And at that point, they're really going to change everything. I'd recommend looking more into drones, looking more into AI algorithms and how they're used, and we're going to see a lot of them being used in the future. If you're interested in any sort of these far futuristic topics, I'd recommend doing your own research and doing your own Googling because they're not necessarily, relevant to you right now, but they're interesting and they're going to be important in the future. If you want to read more about AI and specifically how it's relevant to you right now, I'd highly recommend using this Forbes article over here as well. That I'm putting in the chat as well. That's just amazing ways that Facebook uses them and shows a little bit how they will be more versatile. The other helpful link that I saw about quantum computers, if you're interested in actually learning a bit more about them, because I am not a quantum physicist and I'm not going to attempt to describe them exactly, I'd recommend reading there. It can make it a little more understandable on how quantum computers are going to be a bit different. But either way, my name is Tom Levine. I'm Cornerstone's tech guru. And if you have any questions on any other technology, please feel free to reach out to me. This was our last Tech Tuesday of the year. And I know it doesn't cover something that you think might be relevant to insurance, but I am helpful in a large array of other categories. If you have any questions about how to use the Microsoft Office suite, that's really where I have a lot of expertise. And if you have any question about using anything on Windows, feel free to give me a call. I'm Tom Levine from Tech Tuesday, and we will see you next year. Thank you and have a wonderful day.